2. Confrontation turns violent. In a tense confrontation, Nicola orders Anthony to leave her home, citing the warnings she has received about his past. The situation escalates quickly as Anthony becomes physically threatening in response to Nicola's accusations. Just when it seems that things might spiral further out of control, Laurel bursts in to defend Nicola. However, the intervention takes a dark turn when Laurel, in a moment of desperation, uses a candlestick to knock Anthony unconscious. 3. Confusion in relationships. Meanwhile, Steph is left bewildered by the sudden reconciliation between Caleb and Ruby. Just a week prior, they seemed to be on the verge of breaking up, but now they are acting as if nothing has happened. This sudden shift raises questions about the stability of their relationship and what it means for those around them. 4. Tension outside the church. Later in the week, Anthony confronts Ruby outside the church, leading to a tense exchange that Aaron witnesses. The dynamics between the characters become increasingly complicated as Anthony's behavior raises suspicions about his true intentions. 5. Shocking revelations for Kane. In a surprising turn of events, Kane stumbles upon Chas in a vulnerable moment in the Woolpack's back room. Initially fearing that his past mistake with Ruby has been exposed, Kane is instead confronted with a horrifying truth that shakes him to his core. 6. Caleb takes action. After learning the full extent of Anthony's crimes, Caleb decides it's time to take matters into his own hands. He arrives in his car and instructs Anthony to get inside, leaving viewers wondering what his plan entails. The tension builds as Anthony's storyline reaches a dramatic climax. 7. A gunshot rings out. The week culminates in a shocking moment as a gunshot is heard, leading to Anthony's lifeless body being discovered by one of several key characters: Ruby, Caleb, Kane, Chas, Aaron, Nicola, or Laurel. Each of these characters becomes a suspect in the ensuing whodunit plot, adding layers of intrigue and suspense to the unfolding drama. 8. Steph's concerns. As the chaos unfolds, Steph grows increasingly concerned when her grandfather fails to meet her as planned. She questions Caleb and Ruby about his whereabouts, but their responses only deepen the mystery surrounding Anthony's disappearance. 9. Nicola's suspicion. With Anthony missing, Nicola takes the initiative to visit A and E, hoping to find out if he has been admitted. Her unusual visit raises eyebrows among the hospital staff, particularly a nurse who begins to suspect that something is amiss. 10. Laurel's guilt. In the aftermath of the violent incident, Laurel struggles to cope with her feelings of guilt. Seeking solace, she turns to religious guidance as she attempts to process the emotional turmoil stemming from her actions against Anthony. 11. Dawn's dilemma. Meanwhile, Kim encourages Dawn to leave her job at the vet's and take a position at Home Farm. Dawn reluctantly agrees, only to discover that Joe will be her new boss. Their professional relationship quickly turns personal, leading to a passionate encounter that leaves Dawn feeling conflicted. 12. The weight of betrayal. As Dawn grapples with her feelings of guilt over betraying Billy, who has just returned from the hospital with their baby son Evan, she faces a moral crossroads. The weight of her actions becomes unbearable, prompting her to consider confessing to Billy about her infidelity. Will she find the courage to come clean, or will she continue to hide the truth? 13. Joe's struggles. In a separate storyline, Joe finds himself in a precarious situation as he struggles to stay conscious while sitting in his car on a country road. Dawn discovers him slumped at the wheel, with an unlabeled bottle of pills on the floor, raising concerns about his well-being and the choices he has made. 14. Charity's confrontation. As tensions rise, Joe hands over a family heirloom watch to No, which Charity discovers. Realizing that No is in contact with Joe again, Emmerdale spoilers follow. Next week on Emmerdale, Anthony Fox's storyline ends in murder as a gunshot is fired. Elsewhere, Joe and Dawn go a step further as they continue to betray Billy. Here's our guide to 12 big moments coming up. You can also check out our collection of 26 spoiler pictures from these episodes. Nicola leaves Anthony alone with Angelica for another tutoring session at the King house. Chas is alarmed when she hears about this, so she warns Nicola that Angelica isn't safe around Anthony. Disturbed by the revelations, Nicola rushes home and orders Anthony to leave, explaining that she's been told about him being a danger to children. Anthony turns physically threatening with Nicola following her accusation. Nicolette is relieved when Laurel bursts in to defend her, but the situation spirals out of control when Laurel intervenes with a candlestick and leaves Anthony unconscious. Steph is confused when she realizes that Caleb and Ruby are back together, even though they'd appeared to be over for good the week before. Both now seem to be acting like nothing has happened. Later, Anthony confronts Ruby outside the church. Aaron is surprised to witness the tense conversation and how Anthony acts around Ruby when he thinks nobody is watching. Walking into the Woolpack's back room, Kane is surprised to stumble across Chaz in an emotional moment. Kane initially fears that his mistake with Ruby may have been revealed, but Chaz leaves him surprised with a horrifying truth. After discovering the truth about Anthony's crimes, Caleb decides that it's time to take action. Caleb pulls up in his car and instructs Anthony to get inside the vehicle, but what does he have planned? Anthony's storyline reaches a dramatic peak as a gunshot rings out and he's later found dead by someone. Ruby, Caleb, Kane, Chaz, Aaron, Nicola and Laurel have all been named as suspects in the whodunit plot. Meanwhile, Steph is confused when her grandfather fails to meet up with her as planned. She later quizzes Caleb and Ruby about his whereabouts, but do they know anything? With Anthony nowhere to be seen, Nicola heads to A&E to ask whether he's been admitted. Her strange visit immediately sparks suspicion from a nurse. Meanwhile, Laurel struggles to cope following the incident with Anthony and seeks religious guidance as she tries to process her guilt. Kim suggests to Dawn that she should give up her job at the vet's and start working at Home Farm instead. Dawn agrees, but she gets more than she'd bargained for when she realizes that Joe will be her boss. Dawn accuses Joe of orchestrating the new arrangement to get closer to her, but their argument turns to passion and they sleep together for the first time. Dawn regrets betraying Billy when he returns from hospital with their baby son Evan, who has been at his first outpatient chemotherapy appointment. Later, Joe sits in his car on a country road and struggles to maintain consciousness. Dawn finds Joe slumped at the wheel, with an unlabeled bottle of pills on the floor. As Dawn's guilt continues to overwhelm her, she decides that it's time to confess to Billy that she betrayed him. With her marriage at risk, will Dawn go through with it? Joe hands over a watch to No, which is a family heirloom. Charity finds the expensive item and quickly realizes that No is in contact with Joe again. Charity storms over to Home Farm to hand back the watch and she reiterates her warning for Joe to stay away from No. Joe and Kim head to the graveyard together. Joe is intrigued when he sees how much Kim genuinely misses Graham. It's clear that Kim is also struggling with her grief for Will, but she appreciates having Joe's support to rely on. Emmerdale spoilers. What's next in the village? As the drama unfolds in Emmerdale, viewers can expect a series of shocking events that will leave them on the edge of their seats. The upcoming week promises to be filled with tension, betrayal, and unexpected twists, particularly surrounding the character of Anthony Fox, whose storyline culminates in a shocking murder. Here's a detailed look at the 12 significant moments to watch for, along with a collection of 26 spoiler images that capture the essence of these episodes. 1. A dangerous tutoring session. The week kicks off with Nicola leaving Anthony alone with her daughter, Angelica, for what is supposed to be a routine tutoring session at the King household. However, Chaz becomes alarmed upon hearing this arrangement and immediately warns Nicola about the potential danger Anthony poses to children. This revelation sends Nicola into a panic, prompting her to rush home and confront Anthony about the accusations.